In the feature film Witness, as in the wider world, when you belong to a group, there are consequences if you break that group's rules. The first group that we look at in this film are the Amish people, and the second group are the police officers. But let's start with the Amish. One of the things that binds the Amish together and defines their way of life is this notion of being plain and humble. They don't actually say it. They barely mention God. In fact, I don't think they do mention God. But he's obviously at the centre of their lives, even if they don't say it out loud. In fact, when John Book gets better, and they say, "Oh, well, thank you" to the doctor, and he says, "Oh, it wasn't me that saved you." Being devout and being plain is very much at the core of what binds this group together. But it isn't just about living simply and being plain. You do have to adhere to their moral code. And Rachel starts to break this code because she has a grown man living in her house. It was one thing when he was dying, but it's another thing altogether once he's healthy and well and pretty much living under a roof in a manner similar to her husband, but she's not married to him. And there are consequences for this. Eli in fact bails her up and says there's been talk about having you shunned. Interestingly, they don't lock you up. They don't practice violence, so they're not going to threaten to come and get you and hurt you, but they will throw you out of their community. So that's one type of consequence for breaching that belonging group. The second group is, of course, the bad cops. Now, the bad cops, and Schaefer in fact says it here, that we are like a cult. And we have our own rules, and John's breaking these rules, and he's actually talking to Carter in this scene. He says to Carter, "And you're breaking them right now by not helping me." And when you don't break the rules, there's a threat of bad things happening to you. They don't just stop talking to you. He goes to Elaine and he's basically threatening her, saying, "Listen, we'll take you downtown," and I guess there's the threat of violence in that. There's the actual violence that McPhee murders that police officer in the bathroom at the start of the film. And there's the further violence when they arrive at the end of the film to kill Book. That if you don't play by the rules of this group, then they don't just shun you, they actually come after you and try and kill you in this story. And then of course there's the good cops, because the ones that I was talking about before were the corrupt cops. And we see this guy in the bathroom and we don't see him hurt anyone. And we see John. But interestingly, John Book actually does go and shirt front that guy when they're searching for the suspect. He's whacking people. So there's kind of consequence for not wanting to take part in society's laws is you're met with violence. And in actual fact, we see that John Book will kill people if they go up against him. He might be acting in self-defence here. He probably is. But he's still doing something that the Amish wouldn't do. It doesn't matter how much you break their rules. They're not going to come and drown you in the grain silo. And likewise, we have him shooting McPhee there, redecorating that wall. Interestingly, the very last person he could have killed, he doesn't. He's got Schaefer cornered. Schaefer can't do anything to him, and then he almost reverts to this sort of Amish ideal of solving it another way. But I do think it's a very interesting idea that obviously we have the Amish on one side who are very peaceful and devout, and that's their identity, and what they threaten you with is being removed from that. And the bad cops are obviously bad. They'll come and gun for you. But in between we have these good cops who actually behave an awful lot like the bad cops. And John Book, much as he's a really likeable character, he does resort to that method of punishment pretty regularly. So anyhow, there's some thoughts to leave you with.